show versus business. We've been talking about the teaser trailer. We've been talking about the actual trailer, but I finally saw the movie. And what is my review? I would say it had a lot of potential. So what does that mean? So that means that this is a movie you can tell was an absolutely killer script. I mean, whoever it was just right there for us, right? A movie about football and horror. And I would say that the horror was kind of missing. First act was great. Second act was decent, especially with performances and acting performances. But I gotta say, the third act, the third act was lacking. So here are my initial reviews about it. Overall, like I said, I told you kind of middling review, and I get a sense of why everyone is saying it's middling review right now. But here's my initial thoughts about it. I thought it was a good concept. Phenomenal. I mean, we talk about they talk about this in the movie too, God, family, football, right? And this is the first time we ever talked about a movie that was talking about the sacrifices you make to make it to this level when it comes to football. And so when I saw it, I was like, okay, this is going to be interesting take, right? Love the beginning, right? The sacrifices that we make, the motif, the young version of the main character, right? Cameron, that's the name of the character in the movie, played by I think Tariq Winters. You know, as an actor, he was phenomenal in an episode of Atlanta, and so it was good to see him kind of come up a little bit. But the younger version of him, right? Just that what we instilling kids at a young age, right? About like who you're going to be also, the things that you tell young boys, right, especially in sports, right? No guts, no game. Looking at the sacrifices that their heroes make, right? And I think that's something I tell my son. And so it was definitely very, very, very powerful beginning, right? But I think what was going to happen is that I think there was going to be some things that really kind of blew my mind when it came to what was the future for this, right? You know, when we start thinking about how he was going to evolve to become this great player, right? And I love the fact that it kind of went into his backstory and like his family and the sacrifices his dad made and how his dad passed away and gave all the work he did to kind of make him this great player. But the challenge was, it was still kind of lacking a little bit, but then it did pick up steam when the next character came in, right? And that character was played by Marlon Wayans, right? The GOAT doing the NFL proxy, right? In this movie, 8 championship wins, all that, right? Basically a Tom Brady proxy, right? But in the form of a black quarterback, which and you know what, Marlon Wayans, he did a phenomenal job, right? The sacrifices he made, the things that he had to do to get to that level. And I love how there were components. So before I get into all that, it was already the whole motif of the religious overtones are already there, right? The whole saviors, right? What does that mean? The saviors were the football team, right? That was about to he was about to get drafted for. And so football, we always talk about, church and football. Sunday is a sacred time because of football. So, all this religious motif is throughout the movie. Matter of fact, there was one brief scene. It was a little bit on the nose too much, but there's a scene when he's being interviewed by the media and things like that, where he is basically looks like the Last Supper. So I'm not going to get into too many spoilers on this movie, but I definitely think if you like football, you like interesting kind of the challenge with the horror, I think, was just a little too stylish. That's like the new, I guess, aesthetic of horror now. It's to be stylish. You know what? I mean, I like my horror a little bit more gritty. Not a big horror fan, but too much style is like, is this a commercial? Is this a horror film, right? And so it was very visually appeasing, right? A lot of visuals that were stunning and framed right. And also, it felt a little bit too claustrophobic. I get why they were doing it because they wanted you to focus in on the main character of Cameron and make you feel what he felt. But I felt like it should have been brought back a little bit. Football is bigger than life, right? And that intimate story seemed a little bit too and I get why they did it. Producers, right? It's all about money sometimes, right? You can save money, really have two main characters. You can do more with it. And what does that look like, right? But to me, it felt a little, on the nose and stuff like that. So overall, would I recommend someone go see it? But I would say, if you're a football fan, there's a lot of things I like about it. I mean, I like the little chapter titles, like I was talking about before, that talked about things like vision, talked about uh, having leadership, right? Talked about, and I knew, what I said the last chapter is going to be on sacrifice, and sure enough, it was. And so it's if you play sports, these are all kind of cliches you've heard over and over again about what it takes to be a great football player, basketball player, right? The sacrifice, being a leader, resilience, all that, right? And so, I think these are the things that, folks are, trying to, make happen and figure out what that means. So, hey, thank you, Hello Kitty, for joining. Bud, thank you for joining as well. Cool Inferno. Perfect. Thank you for joining. Look, are you guys gonna go check out him? I know we on this channel, go check out some of our reviews on the teaser as well as a trailer. Those got some of our highest views. And so I know a lot of folks are kind of interested about this movie because it's different, right? I think that's what we're looking for. Uh Horror films. I'll be honest with you, I just saw Warriors as well. We talked about that on one of the trailers that we discussed. Uh, very interesting horror. So horror always has some interesting things to talk about. It's kind of like the best genre when it comes to film. I don't know why that is. Maybe because we can talk about things that we're feeling in a more kind of horrific fashion. So it kind of helps us release these demons a little bit easier. Especially that format, a 90-minute movie, 2-hour movie, a horror film that can be on that nice little roller coaster up and down with the tension, the quiet period and that jump scare. So I think horror is definitely having a moment now, especially in the movie format. TV, not as much, I would say, but definitely, you know what? TV was working well. I would say genre storytelling, like sci-fi is working really well. There's some sci-fi shows right now that are doing pretty well in a television format where you can go episode by episode. But when it comes to movies, it seems like horror is kind of doing it, and I can see why the script. So if you don't know, the script for this movie was on the blacklist, so that means it was a great script, and I can see it. There's a lot of bars on this, especially if you play sports or you're just like one of those guys that like inspirational kind of conversations. And that's kind of like me. I'm one of those guys that like a lot of inspiration and things like that. And so this is one of those movies that kind of had a lot of sayings and things like that you heard all your life when you played sports. No pain, no gain. You have to sacrifice. You have to give up things to get to the next level. But I think it was lacking in some of the thematic things that the carry. There was the ending part, right? I'm not going to spoil it too much. If you want to go see the movie, but I felt like it didn't connect as well to the beginning. And like, I kind of got what they were going with it, and the sacrifice the past goat played by Marlon Wayans had to do to get to where he was, and then choices that this new goat had to do. But it wasn't clear, right? It was kind of muddled, and I felt like, man, man, just that landing, the ending, beginnings and the endings of a movie. If you could just land, have the beginning phenomenal. Well, first of all, I say there's three things that make a good movie. Really, obviously, casting and all that's got to be phenomenal, but really, the concept, great concept, beginning, great beginning, end, not as well. And I think that's what, was missing here. They kind of stuck the ending and kind of really thought through that a little bit thoroughly. I think we could have saw a lot of things a little bit better, more effective, right, with this movie. But overall, I was, yeah, super excited to see it. I know we talked about a lot of times on our channel before. We talked about the teaser. We talked about like what was going to happen. What are some of the thematic themes and all that. And it's funny, a lot of commenters on our channel said that, this is very demonic. To be honest, I didn't feel that. I felt it was more, just yes, sacrificing your soul and all that, but I don't think they weave that into too much. Didn't seem as, satanic as people would have thought it would have been. But I did feel like there was a positive uplift to this and what the main character can, played by Tariq Winters, was willing to sacrifice to get to the next level. And I thought that was kind of inspirational, if you will, right? Overall, I think we need to see more movies like this. I mean, just kind of tying that, just religious overtones into sports because that's really our new, kind of our monolithic culture now, our religion. I mean, more people probably watch football on Sundays and go to church. More people are connected in a way when it comes to sports than anything else in culture right now. We don't really watch TV shows like that, or there's an overall movie. There's no sense of I think the last great TV show was Game of Thrones that everybody watched. So there's no big thing that everybody's kind of watching anymore. And so that's unfortunate. And I think we need to kind of get back to that, all right, and what that means. So overall, go check out the movie. Probably me and Mr. Benja will talk more about it on our next live session. But I want to make sure you guys go check it out. Look, if you want to learn more about all the great things we talk about on this channel, go check out Show versus Business. Go ahead, subscribe. Go ahead, and like, comment. Look, we reach out to our everyone all the time and give them shout outs because we're really passionate about what we're talking about when it comes to movies, TV shows, and technology. And then art in general, right? And the business aspect and how it all mixes together. So will this movie do well in the theaters? My prediction is it probably be number 1, but not by much. Maybe I didn't see what the projections are, but maybe about 15,000,000, if 20,000,000 maybe, if that. That's decent, but I mean, it's a lot going on right now. So I don't know if a lot of people are gonna rush to go see the movie theater. When I saw it in the movie theater, it was a bunch of guys around this time. So it's gonna be hard pressed to bring girlfriends and wives to go see this movie. So go check it out, or maybe wait for it comes out on Paramount Plus. This is Universal, so it's gonna be on Peacock. So anyway, if you like what you're hearing, go check us out. Show versus Business, like and subscribe. See you guys next time. Take care.